This week on Hometown Ghost Stories. The old frontier town of Tonopah, Nevada, was home to one of the biggest silver strikes in the state's history. But the boom ended, and the bustling town packed up and left, leaving a sparsely populated ghost town. The town saw many deaths over the years, from mining fires to shootouts to mysterious plague outbreaks. Now, the small number of people who live there seem to be outnumbered by the ghosts of the past. The Clown Motel is one business that still operates and is one of the more unusual haunted locations in the town. Find out what makes this strange little establishment so violently haunted. This is Hometown Ghost Stories, Haunting at the Clown Motel, Tonopah, Nevada.
Hometown Ghost Stories contains serious and often distressing events and is not intended for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Tonopah, Nevada, 2016. The road seemed to stretch on endlessly into the clear night sky as Big Earl felt himself beginning to nod off. He'd been on the road for almost 16 hours since he'd left the last truck stop. He reached over into the passenger seat, brushed aside several empty snack bags and coffee cups, and found his pipe. Knowing it was empty, he upended it anyways, confirming what he already knew. He cursed and threw it on the floor. That's when he noticed it. Up ahead on the right, lit up like a Vegas casino, was a motel. Typically, Earl wouldn't bother with motels as he preferred truck stops, but he was out of coffee and desperately needed some rest. The name of the motel was almost enough to make him keep on driving past, but he was already in the parking lot, so he shut the truck off and gazed at the spectacle in front of him. The Clown Motel. A 2-story building, all lit up with a rainbow-colored stairway and a giant wooden cutout of a red-nosed clown on a unicycle that nearly reached the roof of the building. Again, Earl considered turning the truck around and heading back up Route 95 to the next truck stop. But he didn't know where that would be, and he was absolutely exhausted. Earl hopped down from the truck and headed back into the office. The man sitting behind the counter didn't look up from the game of solitaire he was playing on his computer. Earl glanced around the room that was full of hundreds of clown dolls, and then back at the indifferent man behind the counter. "You fit right in here," Earl said in an annoyed tone. The man glanced up and gestured to the sign that listed the rates for the rooms without saying a word. Earl paid for his room and was given a key. As he headed toward the exit, out of the corner of his eye, he thought he saw one of the clown dolls turn its head, following him as he walked by. Earl brushed it off and continued to his room. He opened the door and flipped on the light. Of course, the room was painted bright pink and yellow and had a mural of Pennywise the clown holding a red balloon. There was also a life-size clown doll sitting in the chair in the corner, grinning like an idiot. Earl rolled his eyes and shut the light back off, deciding to just flop onto the bed rather than spend another moment awake in this clown hell. That was around midnight. He had no trouble falling to sleep. Staying asleep proved to be the issue. Around 3 a.m., Earl woke up to the sound of a door slamming. It was dark in the room, and for a second, he had to try to remember where he was. Before that thought had a chance to register, he noticed the dark shadow of someone standing at the foot of his bed. Big Earl was appropriately nicknamed, a hulking man hardened by decades of truck driving all across the country. But on this strange evening, he was as terrified as a child. He shrieked at the sight of the figure at the foot of his bed. "Who's there?" he shouted as he clicked on the bedside lamp. Light filled the room, exposing its emptiness. There was nobody at the foot of the bed. He was alone in the room, but Earl quickly understood that that wasn't necessarily a good thing. The chair in the corner of the room where the life-size clown doll sat earlier was now completely empty. I'm Seth Wilkins, and this is Hometown Ghost Stories, Tonopah, Nevada.
Tonopah is an unincorporated town in Nye County, Nevada, and just how this town came to be is a fairly unique story. The year was 1900, and a prospector by the name of Jim Butler found himself in a bothersome situation. One of his donkeys had gone and wandered off. Jim eventually located his donkey the next morning, but it was stubborn and continued to evade the prospector. Frustrated, Jim picked up a rock to throw at the obstinate animal, but noticed something about it before he could throw it. The rock he had picked up was in fact a piece of silver-rich ore. This discovery led to the second richest silver strike in Nevada history. Soon, eager prospectors, miners, and wealthy investors all flocked to the area, and the town was named Butler City after Jim Butler. Jim soon after, however, decided to change the name to Tonopah, the Shoshone name for the local springs in the area. Tonopah peaked during the years of 1910 to 1914, with over 8 million produced in the mines annually, making it one of the richest mining districts in the West. Tonopah's boom years ended during the Depression, but many of the larger mines continued to be active until World War II. By 1947, all the major mines had closed, and the local railroad folded. Tonopah is still an active town of about 2,500 people and is the county seat of Nye County. Many historical buildings from the mining boom years remain intact. The Mizpah Hotel was one of the premier luxury hotels when it was built and is still open today after being renovated in 2011. The hotel's construction was financed by several of the wealthy investors who flocked to the area after the discovery of silver, and it officially opened its doors in 1907. The hotel was in business from then all the way up until 1999, during which time it was frequented by the likes of Jack Dempsey, Howard Hughes, and Wyatt Earp. The building remained vacant from 1999 until 2011, when it was purchased by Fred and Nancy Klein and reopened. The hotel now boasts 47 rooms, 2 restaurants, and a bar named after the legendary Wyatt Earp. 2013. The hotel lobby had a vintage Western feel to it, thought Marlin as he walked in. He was passing through town on business and booked a room for the night. There weren't a whole lot of options in the area. It was basically this, which was actually pretty nice, or some sketchy-looking Clown Motel off the highway. The choice was pretty simple. He checked in and dropped his luggage off at his room, then headed back down to the bar to kill some time. While at the bar, he listened to the other guests chat with the bartender about the hotel. It had a pretty vast history and was apparently haunted. Marlin chuckled to himself when he heard that, and he finished off his third martini before calling it a night. He had a pretty good buzz going that he hadn't noticed until he stood up and began walking. He headed up to the top floor where his room was, but as soon as he stepped off the elevator, he felt like something was off. He couldn't really explain it. Something just didn't feel right. There was a faint smell of a woman's perfume in the air, and the air felt like it had a slight chill to it. He unlocked the door to his room and flipped on the light. The suitcase he had left on the bed was now open, and his belongings had been strewn all across the bed. Marlin's confusion boiled into a rage, and he stormed over to the phone to ring the front desk. He picked up the receiver, but the line was dead. He slammed the phone and spun around. To his shock, he found himself face to face with a woman in a red dress standing in the middle of the room. Her eyes were watery as if she had been crying, but the look on her face wasn't that of sorrow. It was a look of scorn. Marlin opened his mouth, but no sound came out. That's when he noticed the purple mark across the woman's throat. Just as he was about to gather himself to speak, she vanished into thin air. According to USA Today, the Mizpah Hotel is the nation's #1 most haunted hotel. The building is said to be crawling with ghosts, and it has the history to back it up. One especially horrifying story tells of U.S. Senator Key Pittman dying in the hotel in 1940 and being kept on ice in one of the hotel's bathtubs. Another tragedy in 1914 involved a lady of the night. Her name was Rose, a high-class sex worker who lived on the top floor of the Mizpah. One of her frequent customers fell in love with her and pleaded with her to quit the business and settle down with him. When she refused, he flew into a jealous rage and strangled and stabbed her to death. Her ghost is now the most frequently seen at the hotel. She typically appears after moving guests' items around. Rose isn't the only spirit at the Mizpah. There's also a nameless soldier who is reported to haunt the 3rd and 4th floors of the hotel. His name is unknown. All that is known is that he died at the hotel. There are also a pair of ghostly children that haunt the 3rd floor of the hotel. Their giggles can be heard echoing through the halls, and doors open and close for no reason. Another haunted location in Tonopah is the Tonopah Cemetery. The cemetery opened in 1901 in the heart of the town. From 1901 to 1911, the old Tonopah Cemetery was the final resting place for nearly 300 people, most of which were victims of the Wild West lifestyles and health and safety standards of the times. Many of who are laid to rest here were victims of the disastrous Belmont mine fire that occurred February 12, 1911. Two of the most famous graves here are Big Bill Murphy, who died saving others in this very fire at the young age of 28, along with Nye County Sheriff Thomas Logan, who met his demise after being killed in a shootout in a Manhattan bordello. The cemetery is haunted, but the hauntings didn't start with the cemetery. The town of Tonopah is believed to be cursed, a curse that started with the Tonopah Belmont mine fire. The tragedy killed 17 miners in the process. 14 of those men that perished that fateful day are now buried in the Tonopah Cemetery. Most of the hauntings from the cemetery don't actually occur at the cemetery, however. The hauntings spill over to the location right next door, a strange motel on the junction of Route 6 and 95, the Clown Motel. In 1942, 5 years before the mines were shut down for good, the Belmont mine suffered another fatal fire. One of the miners killed in that fire was a man by the name of Clarence David. He was buried in the Tonopah Cemetery, but there was something unusual about Clarence while he was alive. He had an obsession with clowns. Clarence David had 2 children named Leona and Leroy. In 1985, they decided to open a motel in their father's memory. They displayed all 150 pieces of their father's clown collection. It was an instant hit. 10 years later, in 1995, Bob and Deborah Perchetti bought the Clown Motel. The Perchettis added to the collection, expanding it to over 600 clown dolls, ranging in size from just a few inches to larger than a full-grown adult. They ran the hotel for 22 years, listing it for sale in 2017 with a contingency attached that whoever bought it must keep the theme and the massive collection of clowns. It sold 2 years later, and the current owners have expanded that collection to over 2,000 clowns. The hauntings surrounding the odd motel are particularly disturbing and are thought to be tied to the cemetery that shares the same grounds as the motel. It's believed that the spirits of the miners who were killed in the fire wandered to the hotel and used the clown dolls as vessels to interact with the guests of the motel. Apparitions have been spotted traveling from the graveyard to the motel, and EVPs have been captured saying things like, "We mined," and "We died that day, we 17 men." In addition to the ghostly men being spotted traveling from the graveyard to the motel, apparitions of clowns have been spotted leaving the motel and traveling to the graveyard, some even carrying balloons. Visitors to room 108, which has a life-size mural of Pennywise the Clown on the wall, experience strange encounters, disembodied voices, their belongings moving around the room, and things going missing, all thanks to a spirit known as the Trickster. This spirit is said to come from the cemetery, taking the form of a clown to joke around with the visitors. Other patrons have reported seeing a 7-foot-tall clown standing at the foot of their bed while they wake up in a cold sweat. One man checked into room 210 and began complaining of excruciating back pain. He spent 6 years in that room until he claimed that a supernatural force residing in the room cured him of the chronic back pain. Another guest who was suffering with a terminal illness checked into room 111 with the intent of living out the rest of his days in peace. However, he was immediately troubled by the appearance of a dark figure that would visit him each morning. The man begged the spirit to take his life, but it never did. It would just show up and loom over his bed. Eventually, the man grew frustrated and shot himself in the motel parking lot. The most infamous room is room 107, otherwise known as the Fear Unlimited room. The room was closed for roughly 4 years following multiple deaths that occurred in the room over the course of a decade. During that time, it was used as storage space, although guests in neighboring rooms would complain of loud noises coming from inside. Loud banging on the walls, the sound of heavy furniture dragging across the floor, and muffled conversations would be heard coming from the unoccupied room. The room has since been reopened and is available to the public. The sparsely populated ghost town of Tonopah is, as locals put it, infested with ghosts. From plague outbreaks, to mining disasters, to shootouts and murders, this small desert town with a population of less than 2,600 is a town where the living may very well be outnumbered by the spirits of the dead.
What's going on, folks? Welcome into Hometown Ghost Stories, episode number 130. What the hell is going on with this hotel? I'm not a fan. I'm Jesse Wilkins. I'm joined by Rob Coakley. Hello, Rob. I know you enjoyed that one.
For the first time ever in the history of this show, I am upset. And
this is the first.
Yeah.
there was a rule that was put in place that we weren't supposed to do clown things on this show. So breaking that rule, Dave, is not cool. And you'll be hearing from our lawyer by the end of the show. Ron.
Good old Ron Meshbesher. We're also joined by Dave. Hello, Dave.
It was an absolute pleasure to break that rule, Rob.
You're damn right. You're damn right.
We're never going there, just so you know.
Oh, this is right at the top of my list. This
You
town.
know what we're
really
doing
cool.
with this one? You know what we're doing with this one? Because this is absolutely on the list, first of all. Second of all, this is going to be the episode where me and Dave stay in Nerve Center, if you will. We stay at the command center in a van the entire time, monitoring Rob as he investigates this location all by himself. That's what I think is going on here. Not because me and Dave are scared, but because we know that this will be peak entertainment for a paranormal investigation with Rob inside the Clown Motel all by himself.
I won't go.
Definitely not, because we're scared.
I won't go.
That final image that you showed for audio listeners, this is one that you should really, really, really go back and watch on YouTube or Spotify, because the imagery of this hotel, there are so many photos just in and around this hotel. If you haven't seen this hotel or heard about this hotel yet, you have to look at this stuff. These rooms, some of them are kind of, I guess they have some rooms that are modernized and they aren't themed at all. And then I think you pay a little extra for the themed rooms. But the final room that you showed with whatever was happening on those bed sheets that had looked like blood spatter and zombie hands, or clown hands, I guess you would. And then you also had all over the walls, just all different clown faces painted on it. Like, they went all out with this room. The rest of them, they had like one mural. I know they have like a Friday the 13th themed room, a couple other horror movie themed rooms. And then obviously you have the Pennywise room, but this one looks like they went like next level with this one. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrifying.
The guys who currently own it are big horror movie fans, so they really leaned into just making it not just clown themed, but horror clown themed, which is so much better.
It is. And to some people, all clowns are horror clowns, because so many people are absolutely terrified of it.
Yeah.
They're all the worst.
it's really one of the most common fears, right up there with like fear of the dark, fear of spiders. Everyone is afraid of clowns. It seems it's one of the more major ones, and I think that's because of the uncanny valley effect. You guys ever hear of this?
No,
in psychology? I guess it's a theory that if something somewhat resembles a human, the further away from a human it is, like a teddy bear, the less scary it is, and then the closer it gets to a human, the closer it gets to resembling a human, like once you get close to like dolls and clowns, it starts to triggering that uncanny valley until you get to a human that's not scary anymore. And then as you continue on back up the valley, like a human corpse would be like going back up to the valley side of fear. So I think that is a pretty good reason as to why people are afraid of clowns.
That makes sense. Now, this is one, not to sound like a tough guy, but clowns never really got me. Like, I would see creepy clowns. I was just like, it's just not really the most scary thing. Spiders, absolutely. Oh my God, I'm terrified of spiders. But clowns, I was never like super scared about it. But like the imagery at this hotel, the dolls that they have at this hotel, the life-size ones. If I got into a hotel room and there was a life-size clown doll just sitting in my room, I would promptly just move it outside. I would move it outside the room. Be like, I will return this when I leave.
That would bite you in the ass when you wake up and it's sitting in the room again.
Right. But I would immediately blame hotel staff. Like, oh, they decided to put it back in. I don't know. But then if it's haunted as well, like this is so terrifying on its face just because it's a horror themed hotel. And that's awesome to me. I would love to go to something like that. I would love to go to these horror themed restaurants I've been seeing all over Instagram and stuff where they have, I think there's one in New York and there's one in Vegas, I think, where they have these like horror themed restaurants that look so cool. All the drinks are like themed after movies and they'll have characters walking around that are dressed up as whoever. And it's just a super cool theme, but a hotel, it's a little different because you got to sleep in that room. It's like definitely not something to take your kids to.
If you don't go, you don't have to sleep there at all. And you're not scared of clowns. I can tell that you did not watch the original It series with Tim Curry as Pennywise, because if you were 4 or 5 years old and you saw that version of It, you were scarred for life. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, say what you will about that movie, whether or not it was good, but that version of Pennywise, that Tim Curry version of Pennywise, was absolutely terrifying, and it holds up.
Terrifying.
Yeah, and it's like the makeup on the new Pennywise is scary, right? It just looks like, even when he's not trying to be scary, he looks scary. The makeup on Tim Curry's original one didn't necessarily look scary as it was, but obviously things happen in that movie that made him more scary. And then you get the teeth and everything, and the movie obviously evolved. The book is pretty crazy as well, but it's just such a common fear. And just like I said, the imagery from this one, just from the sign itself, you pull up, you see that sign, you're like, I won't be staying there.
Yeah.
Be a hotel.
The funny thing is sometimes if you're driving through the area and you're waiting to find a motel, I mean, the Mizpah is close, but this one's right on Route 6 and 95. So it's the road you're passing through. So you really don't have that much of a choice if you don't know the area. You're kind of stuck with this, which is kind of funny because this is right on the road between, it's like midway between Reno and Las Vegas. So it's frequently traveled, but
right.
Yeah, if you're looking for a motel and you don't know the area, not that the Mizpah is much, I mean, the Mizpah at least isn't clown themed, but it's also haunted.
Yeah. I was thinking like, geez, with one of these Vegas trips, it'd be nice to, I mean, I haven't done a Vegas trip in years, but I've done plenty of them. It'd be cool to go there, but it's not really something practical where, like, if you want to experience Las Vegas, it's far enough away from Vegas where I think it's like 3 hours, right?
Yeah,
where it's like, you're not going to stay at that hotel and drive into Vegas. I mean, you could if you're that dedicated, but it'd be something
you could make a night of it though.
You could,
and this is 4 days in Vegas or something, and then shoot down to Tonopah for a day before you leave.
Rob, this could bring you extra luck if you ever play in the World Series of Poker again. If you stay in that hotel and commute to and from
commute to the World Series every day. Yeah. Okay. 3 hour drive.
It's just going to set your mind straight. You're not going to get any sleep, and then you have a 3 hour drive, and then you're ready to play poker for 12 hours, right?
That's exactly that. They say that's the best course of action for when you're trying to do something mentally for 12 hours is to just not sleep beforehand.
Just be absolutely exhausted. That's how I've been living my life for years. But anyways, before we hop into all the hauntings, shout out to everyone who's hanging out in live chat. Another big group of people here. We got some donations that came in. 10 from Potato. Before the the countdown even started. This was before anything happened. Test gifted 20. Papa Squatch came back, joined in for another with a 15-month membership, and then Aussie joined in for 4 months. So thank you guys so much for the gifteds and for joining up as a member. I saw Chris from Haunted American History who was in chat, so big shout out to Chris. Make sure you check out his show. And I'm kind of curious. We have someone in chat, Adventures with Vegas Paranormal. I'm curious if you're in Las Vegas and if you've ever been to this place. You just said Clown Motel is an interesting place. So let us know what you experienced there. And then I believe there was one other person in chat who had said that they've been there twice at least. I can't remember who it was, but somebody had mentioned that they had been there. So anybody with personal experiences from this hotel, drop it in chat. We'll read it right out on the show because that is some very cool stuff. Speaking of cool stuff, a couple live events coming up. We'll touch on them briefly. We've obviously been talking about them ad nauseum, but October 18th, Barrel House Z tickets are on sale. The link is sifting through chat, and it will also be in the show notes. So if you want tickets to the live event, it will be in Weymouth, Massachusetts, October 18th at a brewery, Barrel House Z. You could purchase your tickets, join in, grab tickets while they last, and it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. We'll be doing a live show. So we'll also feature, what's the other one?
America's Hometown Horror.
America's Hometown Horror. Yeah, very similar names. So America's Hometown Horror. They'll be doing a live show, live trivia as well, which will be so much fun. I'm so excited to just meet up with everybody again. We'll have brand new merch available. A whole bunch of fun stuff is going on then. And then the following weekend, we have our overnight stay at Block Island. Friday, Saturday night, the 25th and the 26th of October. Tickets are selling fast. There's very limited rooms available left, single digits left. So if you want to join us for the live back-to-back nights of paranormal investigations on the very haunted Block Island, then make sure you call the number at the bottom of the flyer, and we have it. It's all over our socials. We'll drop it in Discord again. I actually just got back from Block Island. I'm wearing the shirt now. Little Block Island pirate t-shirt. Look at that. Very good. Yeah, hell yeah. But I went out there. It was my birthday, so I went out there on Sunday and met up with Rick from Block Island Ghost Tours. Holly hooked us up with a room. I actually stayed at the Blue Dory, which is where we're going to be investigating the first night. Very cool little place. It's like a bed and breakfast situation. I didn't know that. Now I know. So it's an inn, and it's cozy, and it is cool. It's very old. I didn't get a chance to do like any kind of investigations. We're kind of bouncing around, but I did do a ghost tour again with Block Island Ghost Tours, and it's always, they just knock it out of the park. It was raining, and there was still a crowd that showed up. This just shows how dedicated people are. And Rook took us around. He supplied us with ponchos, and we had a great time. It was awesome. So love Block Island. It's going to be a lot of fun. Anyways.
Links to both of those events are also on our website. We have an events tab, so you can go right to our website while you're buying merch and also buy tickets to our shows.
Hell yeah. Sounds good. So we finally got the events tab set up. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Shout out to Kate who handles that stuff. Also, shout out to Seth. I don't know if we mentioned this, but Seth Wilkins making his first ever appearance on the show. Normally you just hear him on guitar, but this time you heard Seth on Ghost Story. So the final Wilkins brother has weighed in, and he recorded that opening ghost story for us. Very nice job. Thank you, Seth. His stipulation was, I will read you a ghost story, but I will not appear on the show to talk about it. So, that's why he's not here.
That is why. But,
yes.
But we appreciate the contribution just the same. So this town of Tonopah is incredibly haunted. And what's funny about this town is it's so sparsely populated and there's so few actual buildings. And it just seems that the few that do exist are all haunted. So what a great town to cover. And I guess we could start with the Mizpah Hotel because
it's the most haunted hotel in the world.
It is according to USA Today, it is the 10 best Reader's Choice decision for number one most haunted hotel in the world. So they're not even just self-proclaiming it like most haunted hotels. They USA Today held a poll and their readers agreed. So that's pretty cool. I think.
Where did they hold the poll? Like, because
on their
how
website,
is this
maybe?
the hotel? Relax, first of all.
Don't just answer his question. Practically, what's the joke about it first?
Yeah, it's a poll. I don't know, but pretty cool. I mean, I'm not going to dispute it. It's incredibly haunted. They say it's quote unquote infested with ghosts, which is that's a lot. An infestation is concerning, and there's some history, some actual real history to back it up. A lot of locations we cover, there's legend and lore attached to it, and then legends get passed down. There's no names attached. There's no verifiable history, but some things here really did happen that is absolutely verifiable. For instance, the U.S. Senator Key Pittman, who died in the hotel, and they just kept his body on ice in one of the hotel bathtubs, which is a better choice than some of the other ones we've heard in the past. Where
It's also better than just keeping the bathtub without ice.
yeah, exactly. It sucks if you forget, though. You forget them there, and then somebody checks in, finds a dead man in their bathtub on ice.
Yeah,
That would be rough. But
be cause for a written complaint.
it would be possibly a negative Yelp review.
Oh, don't get me started.
But yeah, so he was found dead in the hotel. I don't know if he haunts it, but the room where they found him in is allegedly haunted, so that could be his ghost.
What is the reasoning for this? For the putting them on ice? Like, I know a lot of places they'll keep bodies cold while the ground is frozen. This doesn't strike me as a place that would have frozen ground, but maybe it could.
I don't know, maybe it's because it's in the middle of the desert, and it was it was a while ago.
It was too easy to dig.
Well, no, I mean,
I'm guessing they needed to transport him.
Yeah, he had to probably waiting for him to be transported out of there. I don't think they're just going to bury him in the backyard, but it was in 1940.
Okay. Yeah, I guess if he had already reserved a plot at a different cemetery, I guess you do have to find out where they want to be buried before you do it. I understand that I understand why you would put him on ice so it doesn't decompose. People are saying the smell, like, yes, I know why you would do that. I'm just saying like why not just bury him right then? So,
right.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so
yeah, you got to collect him. He was a prominent politician. You got to do an autopsy. So it was probably a situation where they were waiting for the coroner to show up, and they're in the middle of the desert in a ghost town. So it's not exactly, close to the coroner, I guess, maybe. But that would be my guess. I don't know for sure, but I think that makes the most sense. The other haunting is the Lady in Red. So this one is another one that has some verifiable history to it. Her name was Rose, and she was a sex worker. And she had a frequent customer who fell in love, a simp, and if you will, yeah. And
don't be that guy.
Yeah, don't be that guy. Or if you're going to be that guy, and she says no, just take the rejection and move on. I would say.
Like obviously it didn't work out for her either way, but I don't think the marriage would have been a good one.
Probably not. Yeah, exactly. I can't exactly say dodged a bullet, but
no,
yeah, that was he doesn't seem like the stable type, but her haunting's pretty scary. She haunts the top floor, and people see her and they'll find their things rearranged. She'll move stuff and then move it back, and then she'll appear, sometimes accompanied by that infamous smell of perfume that we see so many times. But that's another one that has some verifiable history. The ghost children on the third floor, there's two of them, and they don't know exactly what the history is, but a clairvoyant who visited the hotel in 2011 told the hotel's manager that the children didn't know each other and that they did not perish at the hotel. Apparently, the children loved staying at the hotel, and they took up residence there after their deaths. So
this is a theory that Rob has been hinting towards forever with every haunted hotel, where Rob's always saying that basically this could just be a place that somebody really liked. So even if they didn't die there, they could go back and haunt there.
Yeah. If you have a positive experience or a negative experience, you leave that emotion behind. And that's the theory. It's a pretty good theory.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Rob.
It all came
smart.
Thank you for that vicarious input.
It actually works out better when you guys just talk for me. I don't have to do it, especially when I'm on the road like this. So I don't have to freeze in fear and get put on ice.
Yes.
My mic's going to kick out.
Where are you this week, Rob? New York again?
Yeah, I am actually in Times Square right now.
Oh, that's exciting.
No, it's not. It's
not. I'd rather be dead.
The only place I'd rather be less than the Clown Motel might be Times Square.
Yeah, I got stressed out thinking about you being in Times Square. That's how stressful downtown Times Square is.
But we don't have to stress ourselves out with Times Square. Let's head back to Tonopah here.
So there's the Clown Motel. No stress involved there, right, guys?
Exactly. So there's a couple ghosts that haunt the basement of the Mizpah Motel that I actually didn't mention in the opening video. There was a bank robbery, and there were 3 bank robbers, and they were conspiring in the basement of the Mizpah Motel. And one of the bank robbers wanted to get rid of the other 2, so he murdered them in a conspiratorial plot to cut them out of the deal. So that happened in the basement.
Before robbing the bank?
After.
Okay.
Yeah, after the bank. So they were, rather than splitting up the money, the one guy decided he wanted it all, and he shot them.
Was it the Joker from The Dark Knight?
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't. I thought you were referencing one of the clowns from the other hotel. So
I was just tying everything together.
Rob just couldn't wait to start talking about clowns. He's so excited.
Yeah. So they haunt the basement, and visitors and staff experience cold chills and eerie sensations upon entering that room.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you shot them before the bank robbery, that just seems like you might have wanted their help first. Like, shoot them after. Come on.
You would never expect it then, though, Jesse. These are the things you have to do. You have to catch people by surprise.
Or just, but if you could do it by yourself, just don't rob the bank with them. You don't have to shoot the guys. Just don't involve them in the first place.
Semantics. I say live your best life. That's
all right. He shot them after. Let's not get the story confused.
Yeah. It would be kind of funny, though. Shoot them before. Like, what is the point?
Like, bro, why did you invite me? Like, please don't include me next time.
I knew we shouldn't have made the deal with the guy who wipes his ass before he shits.
And then robs banks, yeah.
Yeah. But but that's the Mizpah Hotel, #1 haunted hotel in the nation, according to USA Today. So if you're in the area, I would definitely check that out. It's on my list. This whole town is on my list. I love the idea of a desert ghost town.
It could be. I have some issues with a lot of these polls and a lot of these most haunted websites. I mean, I think the only way to really measure it would be what has the most documented proof from credible paranormal investigators, as well as people that have lived or stayed there. So if it has the most documented history of credible hauntings, then I could say yes. But I mean, really, this is just people ranking their most favorite haunted hotel, right? There's no way to really measure this. This is why I hate these lists, and they're always different, right?
Yeah. We're not going here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd go to the Mizpah. That sounds awesome. But
that's not awesome. But there's no way you're going to Tonopah and not going to the Clown Motel. That would be crazy.
Rob's just trying to immediately just say that he hates all these places, so he doesn't climb up the list for us. But it's on the list.
Going.
I would definitely go here.
So the old Tonopah Cemetery and the Clown Motel are technically two haunted locations, but they're also technically the same haunted location because the motel was built adjacent to the old cemetery grounds, and some say that it's actually built on the same ground as the cemetery, and that might be the reason for the hauntings. So there's a couple myths about the cemetery that are floating around that I was able to find some debunking for. So the first myth that floats around about the cemetery is that the cemetery closed due to it being overcrowded, and that is not the case. The old cemetery closed, and because the Tonopah extension mine kept washing over the graves and destroying all the headstones, so they stopped burying people there, basically. But in that really short period of time, which was 1900 to 1911, they buried 300 people there. So that is, considering the size of the town and where it was a brand new town at the time, that's an awful lot of people. And the second myth is that a lot of people buried in the cemetery died due to a mysterious plague, also known as the Tonopah plague, that occurred in 1902. This is a stupid myth because the correction is that it wasn't 1902, it was 1905. It's like, all right, I mean, it's not. I guess that's a minor correction, but the mysterious.
I heard this one as well, that it was a plague that killed people extremely rapidly.
Yeah,
maybe this is just a tall tale, but it was like within hours. So they didn't know what it was.
Yeah, I think what they did is they retroactively determined it to be, sorry, the biggest truck in the world just drove by my house. They retroactively determined it to be pneumonia. So it wasn't a mysterious plague. That's the myth. They said it was pneumonia. So
what if, let's start our own rumor about this cemetery.
Okay.
What
that's
if,
a good idea.
All right, this is 100% true. I heard that between 1910 and 1911, when they buried these 300 people, they dressed them all up like clowns before they buried them.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I think
that could be why you see clown ghosts now.
Yeah,
it could be.
So,
it could be.
100% true. Definitely happened. Don't look it up.
Yeah, that theory will definitely grow some legs for sure. But
that's how it starts.
There are some people that it always sneaks up on me. But there are so there was a mysterious plague, and at the time it was a mysterious plague because they didn't know it was pneumonia. It was just they were all catching it and dying pretty quickly. I also heard that it was only killing men, which is weird. That might not be true, but I heard that somewhere. Weird stuff. But lots of people buried in this cemetery, and a few of the people that are buried there were prominent people of the town, and those people haunt various locations around the town. So one of those people was a guy known as George Devil Davis, and he was the first African American in Tonopah. He was known for being called a joker and a prankster, and he was beloved by the entire community. George worked hard, becoming the political leader of the African American community, and eventually came to own his own saloon, which he...
I thought you were about to say he came to his own funeral. I'm like, all right, now we got a story. Now we're cooking.
That would be crazy. He came to own his own saloon, which he named the Eureka. However, George had a dark side. Witnesses said that George was an abusive husband. On the night of June 22nd, 1907, his wife Ruth came into the saloon and shot George in the back. She continued to fire as he went down. Ruth only served 1 year for his killing.
Why? Why did she
I
only
don't
get 1 year?
know.
You say maybe it was because he was abusive?
Could have been because he was abusive.
But they usually don't. It's such a tricky situation because when people suffer, like you see documentaries about people who suffer like years of abuse and then they finally come back and kill the person that was abusing them. When you're watching that documentary, you're like, yeah, you finally got him. But then they record, they're like, well, it was still murder. You're like, that sucks, but you just don't know. You don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
So
this was the Wild West. Justice was served differently at this time, and especially it was served differently for African-American victims. So that might have had something to do with it. Who knows? It could have been that they felt it was justified. Although if you feel it's justified, why did he send her to jail at all? Right.
Yeah. You just don't know. I mean, like with some of these cases, they feel like, okay, yeah, we still got to give you a little jail time because you still need to know that you can't just go around killing people, but we understand why you did it. So they'll sometimes just give you a slap on the wrist like that, but we don't know. It's a different time. Racism is a huge problem at this time. That's why when you said he's beloved by the whole community, I'm like, the whole community? I don't know. This is kind of that era where you never know. Was his nickname? His nickname or middle name? Nickname, right?
Nickname.
Okay. Yeah. So
yeah, I probably should have put the air quotes in there.
Kind of a wild story.
So
start over.
Just start the whole thing over. Let's hear that great story again. Big shout out to Apple Steph, gifted 5 Hometown Ghost Stories memberships on YouTube. Thank you so much. And welcome in, Apple Steph. Always good to see you in live chat. Absolutely.
So George Devil Davis, his ghost is now believed to haunt the Tonopah Liquor Company, where much like when he was alive, he plays tricks on the patrons. He turns lights off and on, opens and closes doors, and generally just seems to like to scare people. So I think it's interesting that he haunts this location. I don't know if maybe if it now stands in the location where his old saloon used to stand, or if the liquor store is, close proximity to the cemetery where he's buried, or if he used to own a bar, so he found a liquor store and figured this is good enough.
Now, there's another bar that's out there that I had heard Wyatt Earp owned for a little bit.
That was the bar at the Mizpah where they named it after him. And the rumor was that Wyatt Earp owned the bar and Jack Dempsey was his bouncer. So
going back to George before we get away from him, how crazy is it that just adding a name, like a word to a nickname, can change it? His name is George Devil Davis. But what if he was George Devildag Davis? Just
really
the
does.
worst.
Thanks, Robbie. The deep thinker of Hometown Ghost Stories with another deep thought.
I'm just doing anything I can to not talk about clowns. Just trying. I'm going to fill this show out before.
I'm going to make a new graphic with deep thoughts with Rob whenever he just hits an absolute bunt of a joke. Foul ball from Rob again. Anyways,
Rob is just a real intellectual thinker.
That's what it is. Yeah. He's still thinking about deviled eggs from 3 episodes. You deviled egg lover, you.
I do love a good deviled egg. So Benevolent was also a person who was buried there, and the Tonopah Historic Mining Parks Visitor Center is haunted by her ghost, whose name was Benevolent. She was on the run from the law all the way from New York City and tried to find some peace in Tonopah. Bena died in this town and was buried in the old Tonopah cemetery. She loves to look out the window, and you can try to spot her when you dome up the mountain. Is the word that this website chose to use? Is that a thing? Dome up the mountain? I never heard that.
I'm using that forever.
I have places to take that joke, and we're just not going to do it.
Okay, I'm not going to use that term forever now that I think a little bit more about it. Not going to do it.
Several other ghosts haunt the Tonopah Historic Mining Park. Many people lost their lives here. Visitors and employees claim to hear disembodied voices, and strange things have been captured on camera. So
did they lose their lives when they're doming down the mountains? You gotta be careful. Yeah.
Gotta be careful. Down's always so much harder than up. But so she was a criminal out in New York City, and she got busted and skipped town, headed all the way out to Tonopah, and then she died of, I believe, acute liver failure from drinking.
Doesn't sound that cute.
I was gonna make that joke, and I'm so glad that you made it before me.
That's right.
Very good.
Yep, and I mentioned in the video that Big Bill was also buried here, and he was the guy who helped try to rescue people from the mine fire of 1911. And he,
well, he did.
Yeah.
He's saved like everybody, right? He's absolutely
he did, I think, he went back in one time, and that was the last time he went in. And I think he even had some cryptic last words. He's like, I guess we'll go in one more time, and then he did, and he didn't come out. So this was one of several mine fires that happened over the 1900 to 1947 years. So 47 years. I'll be quick math there. You see that?
Wow.
That this place was operational.
I'm so glad you handle our bank account.
Yeah.
The thing about mine fires is they aren't that bad if you don't mine fires. I'm sorry.
It's the last show because no one's listening anymore.
Oh my God, that was excellent.
Sorry, guys,
but they are bad, objectively, especially if you're involved in them, because there's really only one way in and one way out for the most part. But yeah, so the 17 guys that died in the first mine fire, most of them are buried here. Only 14 of them are buried out of the 17. So I don't know what the deal is with the other 3, whether they were buried elsewhere, if they had family plots somewhere else, or if their remains just were never recovered from the fire. I think those are 2 possible options, but 14 of them are buried in this cemetery, and people believe that they are the reason that the Clown Motel next door is so incredibly haunted. It is believed that the ghosts from the cemetery next door come over and use all of the clown dolls as sort of like a vehicle to interact with the other side, basically us, the humans, which is a pretty...
All of the clown dolls? That's so alarming.
Yeah, I don't know about all of them. There's 2,000 clown dolls there, and only 300 people buried in the cemetery. So
imagine. Like, I understand we've been to locations with haunted dolls, right? We've been to the Conjuring house, which the Annabelle doll that was there was not the actual one, obviously, but we've been to notorious places that have haunted dolls, the Shamley Hotel, the Hinsdale house. Imagine 2,000 haunted dolls in one place, all of them looking like clowns.
I know. Rob hates haunted dolls already so much, and clowns, and you combine the two.
Well, according to Adventures with Vegas Paranormal, they say that there's actually 3,600 dolls now.
Goddamn!
But don't worry, only 2,000 of them are haunted.
I said over 2,000, so I was not wrong.
3,600 is over 2,000.
It certainly is. So that's one of the theories, and it's an interesting one. People said that they have seen ghosts walking from the cemetery to the motel, and clown ghosts walking from the motel to the cemetery, which is, I mean, a clown ghost is really scary, no matter how you dice it. But they're not the only things that haunt this hotel. So it's also actually believed to be haunted by the ghost of Clarence David, who was the original clown enthusiast who died with the clown collection. Now his 2 kids who decided to dedicate the motel to him, it seems really random, like, oh, let's dedicate a motel and theme it around clowns because he liked clowns so much. They were in the hotel industry, so that's why they decided to do this. And it was their idea to do the clown theme. And when they eventually sold it 10 years later, the new owners really just leaned into it. They liked it. So that was a pretty cool thing to do. But
you probably have to, right? You don't buy the Clown Motel with all that clown stuff if you aren't going to. It's just a lot of work to not continue the clown theme at that point.
Yeah,
but
I know.
I wouldn't rule it out. People buy hotels, but maybe in such a remote location with such a low population, what is the tourism really like here besides people passing from Reno to Vegas?
Yeah.
Right.
I know what the hotel looks like, or what the motel looks like now, but this was, so they built it in 1985 and they sold it in 1995. And I think when they sold it, they just had the father's clown collection there. I don't think they had all like the clown stuff out front. I don't think it was all decorated like clowns. I could be wrong, but it sounds like the Pritchard, the family who bought it in 1995, that they took that idea, loved the idea, and really just went bonkers with it.
Oh,
this is like when a serial killer couple finds each other. Like, how do people who think that clown motels find each other to buy one, especially in 95 when there's no internet really to discover this thing? Like, it blows my mind how
it
these
had
people
to
come
have
together.
built a reputation. There's been news stories about this place for years. Obviously, it's well known to be haunted. It's been on multiple ghost hunting shows. There's a million YouTube videos about people going here. So obviously this is before YouTube videos and everything that they bought it, but I can understand why you buy this, especially in a place like this. But you gotta stick with the clown thing, even if Rob doesn't like it. You gotta stick with it and continue that legacy. It's got that old creepy sign out front already. Yeah, you just lean into it. It's great. And I love that this place. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say they probably didn't even take into consideration what Rob might have thought of it back in 1995. Really inconsiderate of them.
It is. I'm never going.
It's a place I would absolutely go to. And it's also a place that embraces the haunted stuff. Now that seems pretty obvious when you look at it, right? But a lot of these hotels, if you think of like the Hawthorne, which is downtown Salem in the middle of, Witch City, and they do embrace the haunting, but you don't walk in and see, a million haunted dolls. It's a really classy place, right?
Right.
This place, they lean into it. It's one of those ones that we love because they don't deny that it's haunted. They have information on their website about which rooms are haunted. If you call up and ask which rooms are haunted, they'll tell you, oh, this room or that room. And there are rooms that are more haunted than others. And it's, as far as I know, I was looking at the website earlier, it's pretty affordable for a hotel.
Yeah. I don't think that this and the Hawthorne are particularly comparable, but
right.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like when you have the Hawthorne, the reason I brought it up was it's in Salem, which absolutely embraces Halloween and the whole tradition that they have. I mean, for lack of a better term, the police cars have witches on the logo, right?
That's
so
true.
the whole town embraces that history. It's the Halloween capital of the universe, I'd say. Around that season and everything. So
I know. And you named your hotel after Nathaniel Hawthorne, and he was involved to a degree.
Right. Or at least his family was.
Yeah.
So Donnie said if the dead people are walking to the Clown Motel from the cemetery, what are the odds that everyone that died had size 127 shoes? And now all I can picture is walking into that cemetery, and instead of gravestones, it's just the top halves of everybody's feet sticking out of the ground.
Now it's even more of Rob's biggest fear.
That would be hilarious.
Now it has feet. Yeah.
I'm so mad I didn't think of that when I was generating images for this episode. That would have been a good one.
Just giant feet sticking out of the ground, or clown shoes.
So room 108 in the Clown Motel is considered to be one of the most active spots, and it's said to be haunted by the spirit known as the Trickster. Now, I thought this was interesting because I have done plenty of research on demons, and in certain beliefs, the Trickster is a type of demon that uses tricks to guile to win over others. He is, quote, a foul demon that spews half-truths and honeyed words in order to get what he wants. They may trick others for amusement or survival, and they can also blur lines and push boundaries. So one thing that a trickster demon will do is they will shapeshift and change. They'll cross boundaries between gods and humans, depending on which belief system you're working with here. But I think this is an interesting, because they just called it the Trickster. That's what they called this ghost, this 7-foot clown ghost that haunts this room. But I haven't heard anyone really tie it to the theory that it could be related to a trickster demon, which adds up because this spirit tries to trick people. And there's an example of this. So there was an old front desk manager who actually lived in room 108 for a period of time while he worked there. And he was elderly and he ended up getting really sick. And one night he had an episode, whether it was a seizure or heart attack or whatever it was. he grabbed the phone to try and call the front desk, but there was something that wouldn't let him make an outgoing call, and he wasn't able to get a hold of the front desk. So he ends up in a panic calling his sister, and he gets a hold of her. But by the time she sent help, it was too late. He was already dead. When they did a further investigation, there was nothing wrong with the phone, but he wasn't.
Yeah, they even reviewed the security footage to prove that the phone never rang at the front office. And they reviewed it. They never saw, because this is one of those phones where it'll light up when it rings, and the phone just never rang. So they don't know what the issue was. I mean, but he was able to call his sister. It just seemed like the hotel was like, I don't know. It seemed like it was trying to kill the man.
Yeah, and that's what made me think like that sounds like exactly something a trickster demon would pull, because this isn't just some silly clown ghost that's just being, because they describe it as he's always tricky. He likes to play pranks on people. Now he murdered the guy. That's demonic.
Yeah, because when you have like poltergeists will mess with you, but they're not going to kill you typically. So
right.
Very different.
Until you hear next week's story.
Donnie N comes in and says, I thought they were going to say that he went to go grab the phone, but the clown had replaced it with a banana.
That would be no good. There was
so you get kind of polar opposites with one of the other hauntings there, because the other haunting was you had a guy who was there and he went there to go die, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he just stayed there and stayed there. He just expecting to die. And he kept getting visited by this tall shadow figure. And you can correct me at any point if I'm getting the story wrong. And eventually he's just like, it's just not going to happen. He just ended up shooting himself because it seemed like whatever it was almost keeping him alive or not allowing him to die. And when I first heard the story, I was thinking, oh, the Grim Reaper is visiting him, but then he just wouldn't die. And he was like begging the spirit at the end, like, just take me. And it's like, no, I just came here to watch you.
I also thought about the Grim Reaper
honk,
theory.
Honk. That was a nose honk for listeners.
I also thought about the Grim Reaper theory in that situation, because it sounded like if whatever he saw, if it was, I don't believe in the Grim Reaper, but if it was a Grim Reaper type situation, it would have been looming, just waiting for him, because the Grim Reaper doesn't kill you. He just waits for you to die and then takes your soul.
True.
So, but yeah, this one, whether it was a benevolent spirit, it was certainly not one that was, or the other way to look at it is it could have been negative in the sense that the guy he had a terminal illness and he was in excruciating pain and he was begging the thing to put him out of its misery. And it was like, nope, I'm just here to watch you suffer.
Yeah. Whatever it is, it just doesn't seem, it just seems evil. And it's weird because it's like, if it was keeping him alive, that doesn't seem like an evil thing. But this is a guy who went there to die. He just wants to get put out of his misery to a point where he ended up just shooting himself. It's a terribly sad story and just a scary one. Very scary. Another Vice coming through with 20 gifted Hometown Ghost Stories memberships on YouTube. Thank you so much for that. We got a comment recently. I don't remember where it was, but someone was like, gifted isn't a word. Well, YouTube says it's a word, so it's right there. YouTube uses the word gifted. So that, I don't know if it's your first time watching anybody live stream ever, but yeah, it's a word in streaming.
We got it from a guy that doesn't know how to use proper English, so it's always good when we get those comments on YouTube.
My favorite. Yeah, this place is it's so cool. I'm so sad that Rob doesn't want to go, but this is gonna make it even better when we force him to go.
Absolutely. So as far as negative,
we're not going to tell him. We're just like, Rob, get in the car, and then we're going to drive for 27 hours to Las Vegas.
I wish we could drive there in 27 hours.
Is it longer than that?
It's absolutely longer than that.
Okay, that was just a guess.
But as far as benevolent versus malevolent spirits at this place, there's clearly several ghosts that haunt it, and some of them aren't as bad as the others. So there was the guy who hurt his back while driving there. Now, there's two different variations of the story. I went with the one that I read where he hurt his back, so he stayed in the hotel for 6 years, which is reasonable, right? And then the spirit that resided there healed him, and that's when he left. And that's one variation of the story. And the other one is that he hurt his back driving, and then he checked into the motel, and the first night he was there, he said a spirit healed his back. And it was miraculous. And he was afraid at that point to leave because he was afraid if he left that whatever supernatural spell healed him would be reversed and he would go back to the pain. So he stayed there for 6 years. So depending on which version of that story you roll with, they're both pretty ridiculous. It's ridiculous to live in a clown motel for 6 years. That's an insane thing to do. It's one thing to visit, but to live there for 6 years. And I wonder if it's the former story where he hurt his back and he went there for 6 years, and then finally a supernatural spirit healed his back, and then he left. If the spirit was just so annoyed with him, it's like, this guy's not going to leave. I'm just going to heal his back so he can get out of here. That's kind of a funny theory.
Meanwhile, the hotel's like, no, keep him. Like, he's a great customer. He's been here for 6 years straight. Shout out to Paranormal Portal joining up. If you guys haven't checked out Brent's show, make sure you go check him out. He was just at a little convention. I was looking at the pictures. Always the coolest little booths he sets up at his conventions. We'll have to link up for one for sure. But always good to see Brent in here. Absolute legend. Brent, have you ever been to the Clown Motel, and would you go? Because Rob's not going to come with us. Makes me sad.
But he'll have to come if you join us.
I GPSed it, by the way. 40 hours. 40-hour drive.
That sounds about right. That's too much. Too much.
I wonder
driving.
how many hours in Rob would start asking questions. But we won't be able to hear them because we'll be tied up in the trunk. It's perfect. Perfect travel scenario for all of us.
We're not driving because I know we'd have to take my car, and I'm not allowing it.
I would not sit in your Dodge Challenger for 40 hours.
I would fly. I refused to even drive to Pennsylvania a couple months ago. I'm like, I'm flying, boys. Meanwhile, you're
going to fly to Block Island too. We'll be over on the ferry and see Jesse's little dumbass.
They do these little flights to Block Island. Do you know how long it takes
to fly to Block?
10 minutes. I think it's from what I'm not kidding. It's a 10-minute flight. So it's like they have a little private airport, I think in Narragansett, and then they have one on Block Island, obviously. A 10-minute flight on these little 4-seat engines or whatever. Anyways, not going to do that. That's still ridiculous. I actually enjoy the ferry ride.
Yeah, ferry ride's a good time. Ferry ride's not bad either. What's it, like 40 minutes or something?
There's two options. Yeah, you can take the regular ferries an hour. You can take the fast one. That's 30 minutes. I took the slow one because whatever. Who cares?
Yeah. Room 214 at the Clown Motel is another example of a spirit that haunts that might not necessarily be a bad one. So in the 1990s, a man named Melvin Dumar regularly stayed at the room. And according to legend, the spirit there that resides in that room took a liking to him. And after roughly 3 years, Dumar stopped staying at the motel, but didn't break the news to his ghostly companion. Now, guests staying in the room experienced lights turning on and off by themselves and their belongings being moved or vanishing altogether. And this poltergeist activity is now attributed to the spirit's frustration at not being able to find his old friend. So kind of a sad story, but a friendly spirit nonetheless.
Interesting twist too, because I don't know if we've heard something quite like that before.
Yeah, honestly, it is kind of unique. A ghost that befriends a human and then the human stops showing up and the ghost is lonely. It's pretty sad.
But it's weird because ghosts are supposed to have no concept of time, right?
We don't know anything. These are all just theories.
That's true. Yeah.
These are just theories, and who knows? So maybe
damn, like you're already a ghost. You're already dead. You're already sad and this spirit bound to land forever. And then your boy stops showing up. You know, like, come on, you were my buddy. Now it's even sadder.
You were my pal. But the 7-foot tall ghost that stands at the end of the bed is definitely the most popular. I don't know if that's the right word to use. Most infamous, most commonly experienced ghost at this place. There's so many stories on Reddit, so many different stories that involve this. The opening story was he was in that one, and there was another story that I heard where it was a paranormal investigator who was staying at the motel, and he really wanted to have a paranormal experience, so he booked the haunted room. He watched horror movies all night, and then was waiting to experience something, and he didn't, so he went to sleep. And he woke up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat to seeing this thing standing at the foot of his bed, about 7 feet tall. And he panics and jumps up to go leave the room. And as he's running by, he bumps into it, and it was solid. And it reached out to grab his arm. And he said the grip was ice cold. And he ran into the parking lot without even putting his pants on. And he turned around, and the thing was just standing in the doorway of the open door to the room.
That's going to be my excuse next time the police roll up and I have no pants on in a hotel parking lot.
Yeah, a 7-foot tall clown ghost grabbed me.
Also, is he the worst paranormal investigator? Is he the worst paranormal investigator? He's like, I really want to experience some activity. I'm going to go rent this haunted room and watch horror movies.
Yeah, I don't. He sounds like, Probably just an amateur, not somebody that has like a whole setup with all the equipment and whatnot. Probably just somebody who wanted to go to a haunted hotel and experience something haunted. That's how I took it.
Yeah, I feel like his
Right.
strategy was just wait until something creepy happens. Then something did. You have to wonder. I mean, geez, that's a wild story. There's no like rational explanation for that, but unless it's, you can't explain the rest of the story, so I can't really explain it away. Unless it's he watched horror movies and he hyped himself up so much, surrounded by these clown faces, that he woke up and thought he saw a clown, so ran out of the room. But it doesn't explain the thing grabbing him and everything, running into it, a physical form. Yeah, it's a terrifying ghost story.
Yeah, it really is. But there are tons of different variations of stories just like that people experience. The 7-foot tall clown ghost, which is just the scariest thing.
That's too big.
It is too big. You think it makes you think about
I'll
the
never see
circus clowns that are on the stilts there.
Yeah, I mean that's like 6 inches taller than me. That's
Yeah,
scary.
that is scary. But that's the Clown Motel and the Mizpah Hotel and the Tonopah Cemetery, and it's a pretty scary place. But it's high up on the list of places that I would want to go.
Absolutely.
Ghost Town, Clown Motel, Spooky Cemetery. The images, if you're listening right now and not watching, just Google some of the images of this cemetery. It's a really creepy looking cemetery. It's not traditional at all.
Or
It's
if you Google Hometown Ghost Stories YouTube, click that link, and then
Yeah.
you can watch all of those images in our video that we did.
We're on
That's
Spotify.
cool. I was watching a few ghost investigations that happened there. I think Ghost Adventures were there. They caught that big doll moving a little bit. Now his hand in that video like slid off. I think his hand was like on his knee, and his hand like went down by its side. So that could be gravity, but at the same time, it's on camera. It did move. I mean, it's definitely something that if it should just be so terrifying to see, especially like the life-size ones. Like that, they're just. What was the movie? Hell House LLC.
Yeah,
or
I
something
actually
like that?
Googled to see if that movie was based on this hotel because there were so many similarities, like with the clown dolls moving around inside and whatnot. And apparently it was not.
Yeah. I've been to a lot of cool cemeteries. I haven't been to a cool, like Wild Wild West cemetery. And this is one of those where the gravestones are all, they just look different. It's just old desert cemetery with these really old, weird graves. I would love to go check this place out. Absolutely.
Yeah, it really is. Really is an interesting looking place, but Tonopah, Nevada, go there.
Yeah, do that. Give us
Or
a call.
don't. Or no, because I'm not.
That's all right. We have your replacement, Brent. He's going to come with us, and I'm excited about that. So
Nothing is more fun than investigating locations that legitimately scare Rob. It is a lot of fun.
Investigating locations that you're scared of is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It really is. But then when you catch stuff at locations that you weren't scared to go to, it's even cooler. Because you're like, I wasn't expecting to get scared by this place. So excited about that. We have another live investigation coming up. What is it? Next Sunday? This Sunday?
This Friday?
Oh no, it's on Friday.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll make it work. So we have an investigation on Friday. So we'll probably be.
You've asked so many times.
So many times. Are we going to plan to do a live stream from that investigation?
Probably.
I don't know, and the only reason why I'm going to say I don't know is because our time is a little more limited on this one than other places.
So maybe we'll do a brief one. It's always reliant on if there's a strong Wi-Fi signal, because if there's not a good Wi-Fi,
there will be. It's right in Rockland Center. There'll be a fine Wi-Fi signal, and I think we can discuss this off.
Yeah, we'll do at least a brief live portion of that. Obviously, like we've been saying this whole time, all these people at the end of every show, the reason that we read them out and give them perks and all these kinds of things is because the live investigations, the success of the show is all due to people who are on Patreon, who gift stuff on YouTube and everything like that. So we want to thank everybody who's done that. So another live investigation coming up on Friday, apparently. Okay, I'll put together some stuff and make that work, but that's going to be fun. And then, we'll hop into that, but that's gonna be a fun one. So we'll let people know. We'll keep everyone posted on Discord. If you're not part of the Discord yet, you want to stay in touch with us as plans develop, like me just finding out that we have an investigation in 3 days. There's we always post updates on Discord. We'll definitely keep you posted on what time and a little history on the place and everything like that. So we will post that as soon as we get more information. But That's gonna be fun. I'm excited for another one. Get fancy new cameras we're gonna try out. Should be a lot of fun. Do we have some reviews you want to hop into?
Yeah, I was just going to say another way you can support the show without even spending any money is just leave us a 5-star review like some of these people did. This one is from MDs, titled Pure Entertainment. I started listening to this podcast last year and have become obsessed. The guys are entertaining, informative, and hilarious. I travel a lot for work, and the content has made my drive time bearable. I cannot wait until the next episode. By the way, there is a theory that chickens are the closest living relatives to a T-Rex. So why not add feathers? And I am always blown away by the things that stick with the shows that we do.
That's a good point, though. I've heard that theory as well. Apple Steph throwing $2 in super chat says definitely join. You won't be disappointed. Thank you so much, Apple Steph. Always a pleasure having you here.
And the next one is from Reed, titled Love the Show. And then he wrote, I love this show. What Dave lacks in, and he kind of, I didn't know what he was trying to say here, but he basically just says what Dave lacks in knowledge and ability to do anything, he makes up for his knowledge and ability in MMA. Oh, and if you think Ohio style pizza is bad, wait till you hear what Altoona style pizza is. It's pizza that uses Kraft singles for cheese, which is a war crime, I believe. I believe that
is
a war crime. You can't do that. You will be arrested.
I've seen images of that, and it's terrifying. Especially, it's like, the yellow Kraft American cheese. Not that any American cheese belongs on pizza, but
right?
Yellow American cheese belongs on cheeseburgers, and that's about it.
Yeah. C Candy wrote good and title 5 stars. Perfect amount of spooky. JP Tatum wrote a follow up to their episode and said, this is still my favorite podcast. I randomly listened to several of the shows. Then I decided to listen to the shows in order. I will get to episode 100 this week. So far, the Antietam podcast has been my favorite. I find myself listening intently to the show. There are times I gasp when something creepy is said, and then there are times I laugh out loud at the conversation and banter between Jesse, Rob, and Dave. I hope this podcast lasts for the next several years. Again, thanks for all the time and work y'all put into making this show so enjoyable for so many of us. Jesse, Rob, and Dave rocks.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Brent from Paranormal Portal gifting 5 Hometown Ghost Stories memberships and super chat. Thanks so much, Brent.
And then our final one is from Savannah, titled New Favorite Podcast. I grew up watching shows like Ghost Hunters, so finding this podcast was perfect. I listen to it while I do work around the house. So far, my favorites are the ones in Georgia and South Carolina, as I'm from Georgia and live in South Carolina. I would love for y'all to investigate Georgetown, South Carolina, especially the ghost of Alice Flagg and the Gray Man. Can't wait to see what you guys do next. That one sounds interesting, and you are in luck, Savannah, because we will be covering a case in Georgia next week. So
cool.
We'll be back in Georgia next week for an episode.
It's very cool. Savannah, that episode hit hard, man. There was so many people that Savannah's my favorite episode. Like, all right.
Yeah, people were really into that one. Next week's episode is bonkers, and it is one of the most well-documented hauntings of all time. So
excellent.
We like,
and I had never heard of it.
Hell yeah. All right. Any other reviews, or shall we hop into patrons?
Let's get into our patrons.
Let's do it. For the VIPs, we have Ghost Nurse, Janet T, American Ware Potato versus the Pet Cone, Tess, Captain McTibbles, the fish that harshly yeets gravel at children, his snail pancake, and Pancake's adopted son, Crepe.
I've noticed that some of the lower tier members have jumped into the VIP member slot.
Yeah. Some of the VIPs are just also getting creative here, including became VIP for a purple shirt, but still love Jesse's jokes.
See, there it is.
Kate, Steve M, Blazora, Sharon V, Glitter Tease Cammy from Washington, Kelly C, Jennifer P, Nick, Donnie N, Inspires Gaming, Allison V, Robert H, Bucky McHat's lesser known cousin, Baldy McCaps. They made like the middle of that all one word, so I had to work my way through what we got there. Baldy McCaps. I like that. That's Bucky McCat's lesser known cousin. That's beautiful. Anna C, Foot Fetish Ghost Stories. That's pretty much what we had today. Mallory K, Mom and Pops W, Lisa J, and Buddy. I don't know if I did that correctly. We're gonna run with it. Maybe it's my body, but I don't think so. I don't think it's a Ninja Turtles reference. Let's move on to the Warrens Wards. Thank you so much for the VIPs. We've said this a few times, but if you haven't already, send us in your shirt size and we'll get you set up for your special limited edition Hometown Ghost Stories VIP purple merch.
Cut off tomorrow for VIP for that?
Cut off tomorrow for VIP. If you join as a VIP member tomorrow, you will get this year's complimentary special t-shirt sent to you.
So if you're thinking about it, now is the time. We also have for the Warren's Wards, Jeremy M., another Vice, who also gifted memberships today. Thank you so much. Another Vice. We have Beth C., Serena, Shawners, Apple Steph, Leslie F., Rachel G., Her Lady Spook Ship, Nefarious Chad Poles, Wahini Pirate, I Am the Bridge Witch and I Hate Rob, Julie Gooley, Eugene M., Colby, Kath Q., Liz Young, DC, Chris Connolly, LBPS founder, next HGGS guest, the other Rachel B., Sarah Cook, Zeta Chimera, Janice G., Lily, Rachel B., Rob loves clowns that wear sandpaper shoes, and he disappeared before we could announce that.
Damn.
So that's so sad. Goodbye, Rob. No foreign language tonight, just my awesomeness. And of course, I mess up the English version of her. Thank you, Sydney. Papa Squatch, Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch with Deviled Egg, Steph A., Stan
Love
the
it.
Man with the Ham Hands, and Rob secretly loves fishing. Welcome back, Rob. You came back for the fishing joke.
Actually, that's where he went. He went to go fishing.
He went to go fish. He had to
That
go
is
catch a
not
fish
true.
real quick. Thought he got a bite on his line. He's back.
Clownfish.
Clownfish.
Aha! So, Dave, I don't know if you got this. When I was looking up some footage to put together the intro to the video, it was so much clownfish.
Oh, really?
Footage of clownfish. I'm like, come on,
So
I'm not
stupid.
looking for that. Anyways, I almost mixed a little bit of it in just to make a joke, but I don't think people would have understood why they were looking at a fish. All right, so Michelle N., Kitten Clown, Shane O'Mac, Macho Mandoff. Oh, yeah, you shall not pass. Dig it. Joe, Sherry Perry, Shay, Trevor S. You can't triple stamp a double stamp, Lloyd. Christina S. Kate C. Chrissy, Kelly C. Isla D. Bloop. Like that name. I had a lot of fun doing that. Crazy Legs 2005, West Virginia Coal Miner, hashtag The Revenge of Cake Dave, Miss Macabre, Michelle, Naroku, Cold Warrior, Rob doming up a mountain before he eats a hearty deviled egg. What you gonna do when meatloaf madness runs through you? D from H-Town, Meta A, Sarah B, Dominica, Angel F, Monster Mom 04, Allie, Dark Snark. This is all in Greek. Did Andrew do this? I should be able to read this.
Just
I'm
because you
ash-
married a Greek
I am-
woman doesn't mean you can read Greek.
I'm ashamed. I've studied this language for quite some time, but
Wait, aren't Greek letters not English alphabet?
correct. So you have to also learn this, which I've been working on. So Odrunianis Okanis no, I tried. Gave it a valiant effort, but this is really long.
You can click the translate button and it'll translate it to English.
There's not a translate button on Patreon. Patreon still hasn't worked on that yet.
There is.
Megan S. Not on. Okay, we're gonna try.
I did it last week. I've translated I wanted to make sure the German and the French one weren't like vulgarities, so I translated them, and there is. I think it's top right or something. We don't have to do it right now, but
Okay. Oh yeah, it's all right. So this makes about as much sense as what I was just reading. The rump, the button, the rump maker went to the rump, and had his button stolen.
that's Velcro fish sticks.
Okay, thanks. It makes sense that I haven't learned a single one of them. I haven't learned the word rump yet. So all right, we haven't gotten there. We're diving into it. Megan S, Morgan S, Arcade Hunters, Wayne C, Rob's inflatable friend wears clown shoes. Crystal Quinn, the only thing hotter than Daddy Rob is this heat wave. Alicia E, Thick Boy Freddy allegedly has poor cell service at cheer practice, so he couldn't watch live, but still believes in Joe Hendry. Well, that's beautiful. So I'm sure Thick Boy Freddy will catch up on that episode. We have new band name, The Wandering Donkeys. Rob's best friend is the Times Square Clown. Have you run into that one yet, Rob?
No.
Okay, beautiful. Sam from
What do you
Nepal,
do?
Joe, Squeaky Oversized Clown Shoes R, Paul from St. Louis, Al Capone, I miss when the shows were all about me, Huggy Bear, Captain Jack was amorous. She was insane. So anyway, here's my new Patreon name. All right. Very good. Solar Flare, Mariah M, Kirley J, Anthony, insert falling goat pun here, T, Cody G, Brandon W, Hooply Whooply, Bridge Witch, and the Polkageist. I struggled, but we got it. Next week, for those of you who have been waiting and wondering where the Patreon pre-show hangs have gone, summer is tricky, and my kids stay up later than they normally do, so it's very tricky to do Patreon hangs every week, but we're going to bring it back next week, so we will be doing one for those of you who are eligible. on Discord. The $10 and up tiers on Patreon. We're going to do a pre-show hang 8:15 to 8:45 before our show next week. Maybe we'll show you some of the footage that we catch from the next paranormal investigation. I'm excited about that. You should be excited about that. But yeah, Patreon pre-show hang. It's been a while, but we're going to bring it back. And for those of you wondering about it, it's not going to be every other week thing. We're busy. So we'll do them when we can, but we will announce them when they're coming up. But instead, we're doing bonus content on Patreon. And, we'll still give you guys some stuff. But that's the Clown Motel. It's on the list. We're going to go there, whether or not Rob wants to, whether or not Rob joins us. Maybe you'll get a Robless investigation. Finally. Who knows? Yeah. So,
it went so well in San Antonio.
It did go well in San
We came home with a poltergeist. When's the last time you came home with a poltergeist? Anyways, I think that'll pretty much do it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll be back on Tuesday with another live episode. Friday, what are we dropping?
Friday is
cursed content, right?
Oh yeah, we did
special little cursed possessions.
We do like a little tour of the Warrens Museum and cover some of the haunted objects inside the Warrens Museum. Nice. But if you're a Patreon member, you can already watch it now.
Wow. That's so cool.
Yep, it is. Anyways, that'll pretty much do it. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time. Bye.
What another terrifying episode of Hometown Ghost Stories. I, for one, have goosebumps. Can you see them through the tattoos? Probably not. That's okay. What I need you to do is press that like, that subscribe button, then notify it so that you know when we go live. Sometimes there's secret live shows. That way you can jump in, join the chat. We do these video game streams that I've absolutely never died on. Not once. It's never happened. So if you want to see that, make sure you're notified. You can also get some merch. Go to hometownghoststories.com. Join the Discord. I've pitched everything that we have here. Please help the show out any way that you can, and we will catch you next time here at Hometown Ghost Stories.